Hi everyone, Story Mode here, the internet's busiest music nerd, and it's time for a review of this new JID album, The Forever Story. This is a new LP from Georgia rapper and DREAMVILLE's top spitter, JID. His long-awaited follow-up to his DiCaprio 2 project in 2018, one of my favorite records of that year, really brought a lot of impressive tracks, flows, and bars to the table. And the thing about JID that I think makes him stand out is he lets his massive amount of talent just speak for itself. He's not one of these overly competitive lyrical miracle rappers trying to save the game, yet he has plenty of clever wordplay to flex. He also brings plenty of unique flows on his records without sounding overly pretentious or like his head is up his ass. He has the taste and tact to appeal not just to more discerning listeners, but also people who are just looking to hear a banger too. And not only is he plenty great as is, but he also has a massive amount of potential, which I and many have been hoping to hear him capitalize on this record. And I would say he absolutely did that, because shit, there's not a bad track on this thing. And for sure, coming away from this record, there still will be doubters who make dismissive comparisons to the likes of Kendrick Lamar or Andre 3000. Those people are just denying themselves the privilege of listening to a fantastic rapper come into his own on this LP. Because not only do we see improvements in JID's delivery, flows, pen game here, but we also get quite a bit of lyrical focus on many of these tracks. The boldest and grandest production choices of JID's career so far too. Crazy beat switches, multi-phased songs, strong choruses, strong guest appearances from the likes of Ari Lennox, Kenny Mason, James Blake, Yasin Bey, and Lil Wayne too. And JID is really treating us with all the freaking tracks on this project too. 14 of them plus an intro. They're all really robust cuts that span an hour in total. We have RAYDAR that hits with these really fat 808s and hi-hats that skip across the beat like something out of a Brooklyn drill song. This combined with JID's flows makes for a blistering intro, and I love how even when going hard, JID continues to just sound smooth, calm, collected, not too smooth though, as he still brings a very dynamic delivery, changing up his inflection every once in a while, his flow, and giving us lyrical gems with crazy rhyme schemes such as mirror, mirror, why the fuck is you laughing, dear, dear, let me volunteer cause I'm not in fear, I'ma jump in the ashes. Dance Now is a great teaser to the record, still sounds fantastic in the context of the album. We have a relaxed trap beat on this one with a killer spiritual melody looping in the background. Many of JID's bars here work as a clever self-portrait, plus we get cold-blooded gems like they gonna let that Beretta fly cause you guys bugging spray pesticide. This track is just engulfed in flames. And I haven't even mentioned the mean inflection that JID hits the pre-chorus with, which works as a really nice contrast from Kenny Mason's sung harmonies right after. On Crack Sandwich, we have a lot of spooky and somewhat animated melodies worked into a classic boom bap beat. There are plenty of one-liners on this one, but much of the focus on this cut goes back to JID's upbringing and his family and his youth, and how all these things shaped him into the artiste he is today. The verses here touch down on a few different points in his life, a few different experiences, but it all comes to a very chaotic head where he describes a whole like fight and onslaught going on where he has to stand up for his sister. It's not a linear narrative, but thematically it all kind of comes full circle in the end, which is kind of the case for this record overall too. Cant Punk Me is really all about the hype and electricity that can lyrically be generated between JID and Earth Gang within a 3-minute span. Pull out the pump, can't punk me, bitch. Pull out the pump, can't punk me, bitch. It does not disappoint, and these three guys go insane on this song. Fucking insane. Surround sound with Baby Tate and 21 Savage was also a great teaser to this LP. Still sounds fantastic here. In essence, this song is a nod to Mos Def, especially with this sample here that many will remember was also used on Miss Fat Booty. But don't worry, Mos Def or Yasin Bey is also featured on this record later. God, and JID, the way he switches up his flow every few bars, it's so natural, and yet the changes are so strong and radical. It's kind of crazy. It's like it's happening before my ears, but I don't notice it, but it's so impressive. I think it just speaks to JID's incredible amount of just natural talent, because most people rapping this intensely or with this much thought going into their lyrics usually sound like they're trying a bit harder, but this man does not even sound like he's breaking a sweat. And plus, again, with the flow switches, does he ever run out of flow ideas? Does he run out of them? 21 Savage keeps up on the track really nicely, and Baby Tate, is fine. She brings some smooth vocal passages on the cut, which bring us to a very cool slow-mo outro where JID does even more amazing things lyrically. I guess I just wish coming away from this track that Baby Tate had a larger, more lyrical feature, because obviously she's a very capable rapper too. But yeah, if this song proves anything, it's that JID is always going to switch things up, and he is never going to stagnate on a track ever. In fact, he just refuses to do it. Even on the calm, focused, and beautiful Cody Blue 31. The selling point of this track is really these stunning, gorgeous group vocals. But also JID is singing on the track too, and not just like singing a little bit, like singing fantastically, singing very well. Better than some people who these days are trying to pass themselves off as like pop artists or R&B artists. Seems like that's a lane that JID could explore more post this record. But yeah, throughout this cut we have a lot of moving lyrics about perseverance and JID's experiences with that feeling and with that need to strive or that necessity to survive through his loved ones like his mother. This all culminates into a super powerful moment on the record, no doubt. Next, the track list ingeniously delivers BRUDDANEM and SISTANEM back to back. The former of those two tracks being very much focused on brotherhood, friendship, devotion. It's a bit of a slow burner, but JID's heartfelt bars and dynamic delivery keeps it really engaging from front to back. There's a strong Lil Durk feature on the cut too. The latter of these two tracks features some pulsating synthesizers and a groovy beat that helps it hit a very hypnotic stride, as do the chilling and gorgeous vocal harmonies from James Blake. The metamorphosis of this beat is fantastic too, as is the emotional metamorphosis of JID in the lyrics. Rapping about being there for his family and wanting to be the kind of man that his loved ones still revere, and not letting his fame or success or various temptations take away from his integrity. Following this, we have the stellar Can't Make You Change featuring Ari Lennox. Ari's vocals on the track are fantastic. The whole cut has this luscious, wonderful, laid-back soul quality to it. The fat drums, the fat bass, and while Ari does take up a bulk of the song, at least in the first leg, that is not a bad thing. Vocally, she brings a nice change of pace to the record, and hearing her sing's always a treat. JID, though, of course, has some clever bars about being stuck in your ways, changing in a sort of romantic context, and he dives even further into some sour relationship bars after a beat switch in the second half. And this section of the song is so good, it could honestly be its own freaking song. But that's just where JID is at on this record. He is so full of song ideas, his songs have songs within them, which is also the case for Stars. Now, admittedly, I do think this is one of the weaker cuts on the LP, especially with this very tedious beat that I don't think JID's lyrical efforts do enough to close the gap on. But the track does finish with this sudden interruption, like this announcement message, and now a word from our ancestors, and then it goes into a great guest verse from Yasin Bey, which again, if extended, feels like it could have been its own song, and is just a fantastic addition to the record generally. On Just in Time with Lil Wayne, Wheezy brings one of his best guest verses in a while. Clearly he knew what he was getting into on a JID album, and hearing these two side by side really does illustrate how well JID embodies his Wayne influence. He also gives us an extra lyrical helping on the back end of the track too. Who the hell says the third verse is dead? Now from here we have a really strong ending on the record. The track Money is a highlight, with this cute kids chorus sampled throughout the track, nice beat, nice descending chord progression. Whole song kind of feels like it could be something off an MF Doom record. I think JID is consciously doing his best to channel that energy as well, especially when he's writing things in kind of a silly tone and rapping in the third person. Better Days sees JID going down memory lane again thematically. One more impressive track on this thing in terms of flows, in terms of production, and lyrically he really ties up a lot of the record's themes about growth, becoming a different person, becoming a better person, and how your life experiences shape you. And with Lauder too, JID saves some of his best and most impressive rapping for last, where we have this very tight beat and speedy driving bass line that JID's flows lock in with very, very nicely. Incredible sound, idea, execution. These fireworks flows really end the record off with a bang. An intense one, and the only thing more intense than the performance here is the messaging of this song, where JID touches down on a lot of things, but I think most specifically the exploitation of black voices and artistry, where he frames himself as putting in all of this work, especially into the things he says in his records, and yet that message is not translating, it is not landing in the way that he likes, lyrics, and yeah, that is a story that is pretty well known at this point. I would say in many ways the forever story that we are essentially locked into in the title here. And taking this whole record into perspective, I think that's exactly what JID is doing on this LP. He's delivering unto us a lot of ideas, themes, and feelings that we've heard on plenty of conscious hip-hop records in the past, but he's putting his own spin and perspective on it with the experience that only an artist could at his age and with his knowledge level of those who came before him. And there is a sadness and a futility in that repetition and that endless repetition that I think he's going on about here. But simultaneously, the gospel-inspired group vocals at the end of the track do present almost like a ray of hope. In that light, not only do I see the Forever story as just a really impressive showing of JID's rapping abilities, writing abilities, songwriting abilities, production choices, but this album also functions as a tribute to the long-running history of more left field and conscious style hip-hop albums, but now just delivering a lot of those thoughts and ideas in only the way an artist of JID's generation could. Feeling a decent 2 strong 9 on this one. Transition, have you given this record a listen? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? You're the best, you're the best. What should I review next? Hit the like if you like. Please subscribe and please don't cry. Hit the bell as well. Over here next to my head is another video that you can check out. Hit that up or the link to subscribe to the channel. Anthony Fantano, JID, The Forever Story of Forever.